Discover the incredible journey of a rural girl humiliated on day one, now an inspiring CEO. Emma Johnson stood nervously at the entrance of Crestview Academy, her heart racing like a hummingbird's wings. She had dreamed of this moment, the chance to escape her small rural town and the struggles her family faced every day. But as she gazed across the immaculate campus, a wave of doubt washed over her. The buildings gleamed in the sunlight, and the laughter of her new classmates echoed off the walls. Every sound felt like a reminder of the stark contrast between their glittering lives and her family's modest existence. As she stepped inside the bustling halls, each smile felt like a sharp reminder of her humble background. Emma's parents taught her the value of hard work and integrity, but pride felt heavy amid the air of privilege that surrounded her. That first day, she could feel the condescending glances and whispered jabs behind her back. Every little hurt carved into her skin deeper than she could hide. The pivotal moment arrived during a group project, when the laughter from her peers hit her like a slap. A staged accident, a mock fall, a calculated display to humiliate her. In that instant, tears flooded her eyes. She could feel the heat rush to her cheeks, a mix of embarrassment and rage bubbling inside her. She gathered her things, head held high, but her heart sank. She returned home, feeling small and defeated. But her family welcomed her with open arms, their warmth wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. "Remember who you are, Emma," her mother said, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. "You are stronger than this." That strength ignited a fire in Emma, one she hadn't realized she possessed. Her tears transformed into determination, she resolved to channel her hurt into hard work. "I'll show them," she whispered fiercely to herself. As the school year unfolded, Emma immersed herself in studies and community service. She found solace in helping others from backgrounds like hers, volunteering at local centers and tutoring kids who struggled just like she had. Each small victory built her confidence, though the mockery lingered at the edges. One afternoon, as she assisted a fellow student, a kind smile came her way, a small gesture that rekindled hope. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Time marched on, and Emma's story of perseverance began to circulate, capturing the attention of influential figures in the community. She stood taller with each passing day, finding strength in the values her loved ones had instilled. But then, an unexpected opportunity arose, a chance to confront her former bullies in a public forum. It sent a thrill of fear through her. Would she stumble, break, or finally find her voice? As she stood before familiar faces and her entire school, anticipation filled the air, thick like a fog. Would she choose to remain silent, swallowing her pain, or would she unleash it to become her power? Her throat felt tight as she prepared to speak. Emma took a deep breath and opened her mouth, ready to transform her story into one of hope, resilience, and courage, and finally prove that no amount of privilege could ever overshadow true character. Emma's breath hitched as she faced the sea of familiar faces, feelings surging within her like a tidal wave. The students who had mocked her, who had turned her into the butt of their jokes, now filled the room, holding their breath in anticipation. The microphone felt cool, foreign against her palm, yet it steadied her resolve. She scanned the crowd, her teachers, her friends, her tormentors, each waiting to hear what this girl, the quiet one from the small town, had to say. "It's funny how life has a way of teaching us lessons we never asked for," Emma began, her voice firmer than she felt inside. She caught a glimpse of a few surprised looks. She was no longer the girl they had mocked, now, she had courage woven into her very being. "I came here hoping to find acceptance, but instead, I often found myself the target of your jokes," she continued. The words spilled out with a mixture of vulnerability and power. But what I realized is that my worth isn't defined by your opinions. A murmur spread through the crowd. Some gasped, others frowned. She was shaking, but not from fear, it felt more like the adrenaline of fighting back, claiming her space. I grew up thinking my background was a disadvantage. I thought it made me lesser in your eyes. But I learned that humble beginnings don't dictate my future. They fuel my drive to succeed, Emma said, pushing through the tightness in her throat. Each time I was dismissed, I dug deeper into my passion for helping others. It transformed pain into purpose. The weight of her journey draped over her shoulders like a heavy cloak. She saw nods from some, along with expressions softening as they began to understand her truth. Emma's heart raced with every word free from her lips. You see, kindness isn't determined by the wealth you inherit, but by how you treat others. I hope one day, you will see that in me, not just some girl from a small town, but someone trying to make a difference, she finished, catching her breath. The energy in the room shifted. This was no longer about her past, it was about transformation. As she stepped back from the microphone, silence enveloped the space like a thick blanket. Then, slowly, a single clap broke through, turning into a gradual wave of applause. Emma's heart soared. Each clap felt like validation, not only of her journey but of everyone who had ever felt belittled. Her eyes teared up as she took in the moment, the love, the support, and even the shock from those who once belittled her. Emma had spoken her truth, and she could feel the collective sigh of realization. It was time for change. Later that week, driven by her newfound strength, Emma organized a mentorship program at the school, pairing students from different backgrounds. If her experience taught her anything, it was that healing began with understanding one another. As she stood in front of her first group of eager students ready to learn, she felt a shift within. She was no longer the girl standing at the entrance of Crestview Academy, she was now the one standing at the helm of her own dreams, ready to see where this journey would take her. But just as everything began to seem perfect, an email landed in her inbox, a request for an interview for an article on her journey. The publication had plans to explore not only her new mentorship program but also her past struggles. The thought excited and terrified her in equal measure. Would she be ready to lay bare her vulnerability once again for the world to see? With her heart pounding, she realized this was just the beginning. Emma closed her laptop, took a deep breath, and stared out the window, wondering what more this winding journey had in store for her. The morning sunlight streamed through Emma's window, illuminating her small room filled with scattered papers and notes. She had always been organized, but today felt different. The request for an interview was wrinkling up her stomach like a crumpled piece of paper, reminding her of the tightness that came with speaking her truth. As she sat on the edge of her bed, she opened the email again. The words danced before her eyes. They wanted her story, the struggle, the growth, the triumphs. But it felt daunting. What if she was vulnerable and people didn't understand? What if her past was dredged up, becoming a spectacle instead of a lesson? Taking a deep breath, Emma picked up a pen and began to jot down her thoughts. It helped to sketch out the ideas swirling in her mind. I can do this, she whispered to herself. There was power in her voice, a grounding force she had only recently discovered. Her thoughts wandered to the students who had looked up to her during the mentorship program. Faces she had come to care about. Would her story help them? She bit her lip, letting the potential settle in. It could inspire not only them but also others who were lost in their own struggles, still fighting to find their voice. Later that day, Emma met with her best friend, Zoe, at their favorite cafe. The warm aroma of coffee and baked goods enveloped them like a comforting hug. Zoe, bright and lively, could pick up on Emma's nerves instantly. You okay? You look a little intense, she said, stirring her drink. I got that interview request, Emma replied, her voice tight. Zoe's eyes widened. That's amazing, she exclaimed. But I guess it's also a lot to think about, right? Yeah, Emma sighed, running her fingers through her hair. I don't know if I can share everything. It feels so raw and open. A knowing smile spread across Zoe's face. Emma, you've already bared your soul in front of the whole school. This is just an extension of that. It's not just about the struggle, it's about the fight, the resilience. You turned your pain into purpose. That's what your story is. Emma nodded, feeling a sense of comfort wash over her. Zoe's words had always been a balm to her worries. You're right. I guess I just want to make sure it serves a purpose. They sat in silence for a moment, sipping their drinks. Emma could feel the weight of the world on her shoulders. Yet, beneath that weight brewed excitement. Perhaps this would be the moment to transform how others viewed her, not just as someone who had struggled but as a person moved by compassion and conviction. Meanwhile, her phone buzzed, disrupting their moment. It was a message from a classmate, a snippet of a rumor circulating about her. It sent a chill through her. Sure, she had gotten applause, but the shadows of her past still lurked, waiting to poke their ugly heads out again. Hey, just ignore it, Zoe said, noticing Emma's expression darken. You're better than that. Emma's heart raced, a mix of frustration and determination igniting anew within her. No. No more hiding. It's time for the truth. She squared her shoulders and made a decision. If she was going to do this, she had to confront her past head-on. It was time to take control of her narrative, both the good and the painful. As they left the cafe, Emma felt invigorated. Her voice was more than capable, it was a weapon for change. What awaited her in the interview would be more than just words, it would be her opportunity to spark conversations that mattered. Emma glanced at her phone again. The message still lingered, but this time, it didn't feel as heavy. I think I can do this, she murmured more to herself than to Zoe. As they walked down the street, her mind raced with possibilities. But in the back of her mind, a nagging question remained: what if she opened up and found more than just bravery or acceptance? What if she uncovered something deeper, something transformative? Empowered yet apprehensive, Emma prepared herself for the journey ahead, her heart pounding in anticipation. What was she really ready to reveal? The next morning, the sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden light over Emma's small town. As she paced in her tiny kitchen, the familiar scent of toast filled the air, but the warmth didn't ease her nerves. She had received confirmation for the interview. It was happening. Today. Emma's fingers fidgeted with a bracelet she often wore, a simple string of beads, each one symbolizing a part of her journey. I can do this, she whispered, casting a glance at the mirror. The reflection staring back needed a nudge, a bit of reassurance. She arrived at the studio, her heart hammering with an odd mix of excitement and dread. The building loomed above her, a stark contrast to the cozy corners of her community. It felt like stepping into a different world, one that both thrilled and terrified her. Gathering her breath, she walked through the automated glass doors, stepping into the buzzing atmosphere filled with lights and distant chatter. The producer, a lively woman with kind eyes, greeted her warmly. Emma. We've been looking forward to this. You're going to do great. Her smile momentarily eased Emma's apprehensions. But as they led her to the set, nerves crashed back in like an unwelcome wave. The bright lights and cameras captured her all at once. Just be yourself, the producer said, giving her a supportive pat. But was that enough? Just being herself felt like stepping into a ring, vulnerable and unguarded. The interview began. Emma spoke about her work with the students, about the struggles and the triumphs, her words flowing more easily than she expected. Each story revealed a part of her, bits of pain, parts of joy. But as she neared the edges of her truth, the weight of her past loomed larger. She could feel the tension in her chest, a knot she couldn't quite unravel. What would you say to those who faced similar struggles? The host asked, leaning in as if to hear all her secrets. Emma paused, the question striking a chord deep inside. I'd tell them, she began, her voice wavering, that it's okay to feel lost. We don't have to have it all figured out. I didn't, and that's all right. It's in our struggles that we find our strength. Tears threatened to spill. She felt the rawness spilling out, her authentic self charting a territory that was both frightening and liberating. The clarity of her message hit her like a wave, pushing her closer to what she truly wanted to convey. This was more than an interview, this was a moment of connection. But the shadows from her past lingered in her mind. Suddenly, she riffled through memories of harsh whispers and judgmental stares. Would they believe her now? Would they even listen? Just then, another question came, unexpected and sharp. What do you think about the rumors that have surrounded you? Emma froze, her heart racing. Rumors? About me? She repeated, her voice trembling. It was as if a door to the past had swung wide open, threatening to drown her. The moment stretched like a rubber band, taut with tension, a new anxiety coloring her thoughts. The air felt heavy, the world narrowing down to the question hanging between them. What if she didn't want to address those shadows? Yet as Emma looked around, she saw faces watching her intently, faces she might inspire. In that moment, the decision felt monumental. Those rumors, they don't define me, she finally said, her voice steadying. I define who I am. I choose how I respond. Her heart surged with a fierce determination. It was time to step forward, not just for herself but for those watching, those echoing her struggles. As the interview wrapped up, Emma left the set feeling lighter, emboldened, and more powerful than ever before. There was a strength in vulnerability, and she was beginning to embrace it. But as she stepped outside, the cool air hitting her skin, the thought nagged at her. How would the world perceive her now? Would they see her as a beacon of hope or merely a subject of gossip? And there it was, that question lingering in her mind, ready to unveil the next chapter of her journey. What if this was just the beginning of a much larger story? Emma stepped outside the studio, feeling the sun on her face, and for a moment, it felt like a warm blanket wrapping around her. The hasty pace of the city made her heart race, but she was riding a wave of adrenaline. She had shared her story, opened up in a way she hadn't thought possible, and felt the raw truth of it linger in her chest. Her phone buzzed, snapping her back to reality. It was a message from her best friend, Sarah. You did amazing. Can't wait to hear all about it. Let us celebrate. Emma couldn't help but smile. Sarah had always been that bright spot in her life, the unwavering support through thick and thin. She quickly typed back, it was intense. Meet you at the cafe? As she made her way to their usual spot, a local cafe tucked away on a side street, the streets buzzed around her. People rushed past, lost in their own lives. It felt surreal. Just hours ago, she was sharing her heart on television, and now here she was, blending back into the crowd. But would things really go back to normal? She pushed open the cafe door, the familiar aroma of coffee and baked goods washing over her. Sarah was already at their favorite table, waving enthusiastically. You're a star! She exclaimed as Emma slid into the chair opposite her. Hardly, Emma chuckled, though the compliment felt good. I talked about my life, Sarah. That's all. No, Emma. You opened up. You showed people the real you, and that's what makes you special. Sarah leaned closer, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I could see it on the screen. You're going to inspire so many people. Emma's heart swelled at the thought. But what about those rumors? What if they overshadow everything I just said? Rumors are just noise. You're the one with the voice. Sarah reached across the table, her hands clasping Emma's. You can't control what they say, but you can control how you react. You've taken the first step, and that's huge. But even as Sarah spoke, doubt crept back in. Could she truly rise above the noise? What if the whispers grew louder? Emma took a deep breath, pushing the worry aside. You're right. I can't let their shadows overshadow my light. I have to keep moving forward. Their conversation shifted as they brainstormed plans for the future. Ideas flowed between them: community workshops, mentoring sessions, and outreach programs. Emma could feel a spark ignite within her. What if this interview was more than just a moment? What if it was the spark she needed to ignite a movement? After finishing their coffee and pie, Sarah leaned back, her expression turning serious. Are you ready for what comes next? There'll be challenges, Emma. People want to always be kind. I know, Emma replied, her tone firm. But I feel ready. I want to be a voice for everyone who feels lost, just like I once did. As they walked out of the cafe, a sense of clarity enveloped her. This wasn't just the end of a chapter, it was the beginning of a book she was excited to write. Later that night, Emma sat on her bed, scrolling through her social media. The comments from her interview began rolling in, supportive messages mixed with a sprinkling of negativity. But among the encouragement, a recurring theme emerged: you inspire me. That phrase resonated deep within her. For the first time, she understood the power of her vulnerability. If she could impact even one person, her journey was worth it. Just as she closed her laptop, her phone buzzed again. A notification from a well-known influencer so proud of Emma's bravery today. Let us support her journey. Emma's heart raced. This was unexpected. This could change everything. Yet, with the thrill came a flicker of fear. What if the attention became too much? What if the scrutiny pushed her into a corner? There were still challenges ahead, paths yet untraveled. Just how far was she willing to go now that her story was out in the open? The uncertainty tinged her excitement, wrapping around her like a ribbon, tantalizing and terrifying all at once. Emma leaned back, letting herself embrace the moment. This was just the beginning, and she felt both terrified and exhilarated. How far could her journey take her? Emma couldn't help but wonder, her mind racing with possibilities. What awaited her just beyond the horizon? The next morning, Emma woke up to a world that felt different. The sunlight streaming through her window had a golden hue, as if celebrating her newfound courage. She sat up, heart still pounding with the remnants of last night's excitement. Her phone lay on the nightstand, notifications lighting up like a festive array of lights, beckoning her to engage with the world. Taking a deep breath, she reached for it. Messages poured in from family, friends, and even strangers who had resonated with her story. Each "you've inspired me" felt like a warm hug, wrapping her in comfort as she navigated through a sea of encouragement. Yet, among the kind words were unsavory comments that pulled at her heart. Just looking for attention, one read. This is just a ploy for fame, another sneered. Emma's stomach twisted. Doubt threatened to creep back in. Would those who needed her message listen, or would the naysayers drown her voice out? But as she took another glance at the messages of support, a small thrill ignited within her. If she could reach just one person feeling lost, then today would be worth it. Fueled by this thought, she decided to get moving. Emma quickly dressed and tied her long hair back into a ponytail, an outward sign of the resolve welling inside her. She needed to take action, not just sit and think. Once outside, she went for a walk, allowing the city's energy to fill her. Kids squealing as they played, neighbors greeting each other with smiles, and the vibrant hum of life became music to her ears. She spotted a local park and pushed herself to join a larger group of people who were engaging in a morning yoga class. It was daunting being a newbie in front of others, but it felt right. And yet, if she floundered, they wouldn't know her, just another face in the crowd. As they stretched and flowed through positions, Emma focused on her breathing, attempting to quiet the thoughts that threatened to invade. With each deep inhale, she recalled that small spark of inspiration she felt the day before. She envisioned herself lifting others up, creating a space where everyone felt heard, just like she had felt during the interview. Later that day, Sarah texted her an article about grassroots organizations looking for volunteers. "This is perfect for you," her message read. "Your voice needs a platform. We can do this together." Excitement coursed through Emma as she read it. The idea opened new doors in her mind. The urgency to channel her energy into something impactful surged forth. "Let us meet tonight." Emma quickly replied. "I'm all in." As they met that evening, ideas flowed. They discussed potential workshops to help others open up, create support networks, and even a platform for stories to be shared without judgment. Emma could feel the passion bubble up. It became infectious. They envisioned a safe space for people to express themselves, and soon laughter filled the cafe again. But as plans unfolded, a hesitant thought crept back in. What if no one showed up? What if they failed? Emma caught Sarah's eye and saw something in her friend's glance, an understanding of her fear. "Emma, we won't know until we try. If one person feels heard because of us, that's worth it." Those words settled in Emma's heart. What if failure wasn't as terrifying as it seemed? Days turned into weeks as they worked together, and anticipation danced in the air. Flyers circulated, social media posts shared their mission, and interest grew. But just as excitement bloomed, a message arrived that sent butterflies swirling in Emma's stomach. The influencer had invited her to a larger platform to speak about her work. She was elated but anxious. Was she ready for such a larger spotlight? Could she manage the responsibility that came with it? The night before the event, Emma lay awake, engulfed in thoughts, the voice of her inner critic whispering doubts. But just as she closed her eyes, Sarah's voice echoed in her heart, "You can't control what they say, but you can control how you react." Emma took a deep breath, her heart steadying. She wanted to be the voice she wished she had when she felt lost. Tomorrow would be a test, but she would rise to it, ready to share her journey. What awaited on that stage, she wondered. Was it the opportunity to shine or the chance to crumble? Emma settled in for the night, her mind racing with possibilities, the unfurling of her journey just beginning. Morning light peeked through Emma's curtains, and she felt the weight of the world both heavy and electric upon her chest. The day had arrived. She swung her legs over the edge of the bed, her pulse quickening with each deep breath. Today wasn't just another day, it was a chance to breathe life into her purpose. After a quick shower, she stood in front of the mirror, her reflection staring back with a mix of determination and anxiety. She applied minimal makeup, a soft smile brushing across her lips. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. As she slipped on her favorite blazer, she couldn't help but feel her confidence beginning to stir. This was her armor for the battle ahead, a battle that wasn't about confrontation but about connection. Stepping outside, the city bustled with its morning routine. People hurried past, each absorbed in their own world, yet Emma felt distinct, alive with a sense of destiny. She arrived at the venue early, her heart thumping loudly, the sound rising in rhythm with the beats of her feet against the pavement. As she entered, the gathering space radiated a warm, inviting glow. Familiar faces were scattered throughout the crowd, volunteers, supporters, and new friends. Each greeted her with encouraging smiles, lifting some of the weight off her shoulders. Yet, the anxiety lingered, the quiet voice which continued to question her worthiness to be on that stage. "Emma. You made it." Sarah's cheerful voice broke through her worries. They hugged tightly, the warmth reassuring. "Thanks for being here." "I'm a little overwhelmed," Emma admitted, the flutter of nerves dancing in her belly. "Hey, just remember why you're here. It's about helping people. Speak from the heart, and they'll connect with you." Sarah squeezed her hand with an encouraging grip. Moments later, the room filled to near capacity. Voices blended into a low hum, creating a tapestry of anticipation. Emma sat down in a reserved chair, a notebook open on her lap. She stared blankly at the pages, the words squished together like a tight knot. What if her message fell flat? Then, the host approached the microphone, calling for attention with a voice that boomed across the venue. Emma's stomach flipped. This was it. The moment had arrived. As the host introduced the lineup, she felt her heart race faster. When her name was finally announced, a powerful exhilaration surged through her. Emma stood, pushing her way through the crowd of expectant faces, the flush of self-doubt battling with something deeper, an urge to connect, to share, to uplift. "Hello, everyone. My name is Emma," she began, her voice surprisingly steady. Emma glanced out into the audience, their faces mixing intrigue and warmth, and a flicker of confidence ignited within her. She poured her heart out, recounting her journey, the rough patches, the dark moments, and the small victories. The room felt alive, hanging on to her every word, her laughter and tears weaving into a shared bond. As she shared her passion for helping others, she barely noticed the time slipping away. But just as she reached the emotional crescendo of her story, a sudden silence enveloped the room. Someone in the back had raised their hand. Emma paused, bewildered, her heart pounding in her chest. "Yes," she prompted, her throat suddenly dry. "I'm really moved by what you're sharing. But how do we actually take action?" Came the voice from a young woman, her eyes filled with urgency and hope. The question pierced right through Emma, anchoring her attention. This was the moment she didn't see coming. This wasn't just about sharing her story anymore, this was about igniting a movement. Excitement mingled with fear. How would she respond? Could she give that spark the light it needed? In that moment of silence, Emma realized this was the true test. The opportunity wasn't simply to speak, it was to inspire action. As she stood gripping the podium, a multitude of ideas raced through her mind. Could she guide them in a way that truly mattered? Would they leave ready to make a change? With a steadying breath, she smiled and began to answer, "Let us talk about how we can turn stories into action." And with that, Emma stepped deeper into the unfolding journey, unaware of how the next question would change everything once again. What was she truly prepared for? As Emma spoke, the room seemed to lean in closer, eager for guidance. Her heart raced, fueled by the challenge ahead. "We all have stories," she said, her voice gaining strength. "Stories of struggle, of triumph. They aren't just ours to keep, they deserve to be shared. Together, we can take what we've experienced and turn it into something powerful." She looked into the crowd, seeing nods of understanding, faces reflecting the same journey she had traveled. "But that's only the beginning," she continued, her eyes sparking with determination. "Turning stories into action means finding our communities, our passions. It means reaching out, setting goals, and making real change." The young woman who had asked the question smiled encouragingly. Empowered by Emma's words, she held her gaze and said, "Like volunteering? Starting groups?" Each example she mentioned felt like it pulled them closer together, stitching a fabric of purpose. "Exactly," Emma replied, her enthusiasm growing. "Think about what you care about. What breaks your heart? What makes you angry? Use that as a launching pad. Organize events, build networks, use social media to spread the word. Speak up and let others know they aren't alone." Cheers erupted from the audience, a shared energy pulsing through the space. Emma thrived on their excitement, her nerves giving way to fervent hope. She could feel it, she wasn't just talking, she was lighting a fire. And let us not forget the power of collaboration. We're stronger together. Find others who share your vision and support one another. A man in the front row raised his hand. "What if we don't know where to start?" His question resonated, and Emma felt the weight of it. Then let us start small. Every action, no matter how tiny, matters. Reach out to someone right here today, share your story with them. Create a ripple, then watch it spread. Her voice resonated like a heartbeat, infused with passion. The crowd erupted in applause, their enthusiasm palpable. Emma felt tears pricking at her eyes. She hadn't just stepped onto that stage to speak, she had created a moment. This wasn't just her journey anymore, this was theirs. Hope surged through her. As she continued, she encouraged everyone to brainstorm ideas, share personal stories, and map out their next steps. The room transformed into a workshop alive with brainstorming sessions and conversations bursting with potential. Emma moved among them, listening, engaging, and guiding. She was part of something bigger now, a collective energy palpable in the air. But just as the atmosphere reached its peak, a hush fell again. An elderly woman stood, her wisdom evident. "Emma, how do we keep this momentum going? What if we lose steam along the way?" Emma's heart sank slightly. The woman's fear felt real, a common thread she had encountered many times before. The worry of fading hope. Taking a moment to collect her thoughts, she replied, "It all comes back to community. Follow up with each other. Create accountability. Set regular check-ins, remind each other why you started. Celebrate every success, no matter how small." The room buzzed again with renewed chatter, but the woman's question lingered in Emma's mind, deepening her sense of responsibility. As the discussions intensified, Emma knew she had ignited something important, but lingering doubts tugged at her. What if things didn't hold together? What if she couldn't guide them as effectively as she hoped? By the time she wrapped up, the room felt transformed, yet Emma realized she wasn't finished. This wasn't just a moment, it was the start of something deeper, a commitment to keep this fire alive. As she left the stage, Sarah met her with a bright smile. "You did it, Emma. The energy in here is electric." But Emma's thoughts raced. What if I can't keep people connected? What if I fail them? Just then, she noticed the young woman who had first asked about action, a flicker of determination in her eyes. "Emma, we're going to make this work," she said with passion. "I'm ready to take that first step." "We all are. But we'll need someone to lead us. Will you?" Emma paused, the weight of that question settling deep within her. Could she truly take on this challenge, and what if her biggest journey was just beginning? Emma took a deep breath, staring at the eager faces in front of her. What had begun as a single spark now threatened to blaze into an inferno of expectation. "Led you?" she echoed, searching for words. The weight of her own self-doubt began to feel suffocating. Yet, she couldn't ignore the hope swirling around her, the desire to change. "Yes," the woman responded, her eyes fixed on Emma. "You're already inspiring us. But without a leader, all this energy might fizzle out." Emma felt her heart hammering against her ribs. Holding a leadership role wasn't something she had envisioned for herself. She'd always seen herself as just a voice among many, not the one guiding them. Yet there was something undeniable in that woman's gaze, faith. It shone bright, lighting a path she had yet to discover. "What if I mess up?" Emma finally asked, her voice trembling slightly. "What if I can't do it?" The crowd was silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. After a moment, Sarah stepped forward. "We're all going to mess up, but we'll learn together. That's part of the journey. You're not alone in this, Emma. We've got your back." Emma felt warmth wash over her. Encouragement from friends and strangers wrapped around her like a comforting blanket. They believed in her, even when she struggled to see the leader within herself. A small smile broke through her uncertainty. "Okay, then. I'll take that step with you all." As a wave of applause surged through the room, Emma felt a flush of energy surge through her veins. She knew this was the moment to harness their collective strength. "Let us form teams. We can tackle different issues together, whatever matters to you. We'll build a group for each passion and interest." Excitement bubbled in the crowd. Ideas fired in all directions, people forming small circles. Laughter mingled with serious discussions about community centers, environmental issues, and food drives. Each conversation coursed with the possibility that their stories could have impact. The elderly woman, her gray hair shining under the overhead lights, approached Emma again. "You know," she said softly, "we've been waiting for someone to lead us. You've sparked something wonderful in all of us today. Those words settled in Emma's heart, making her emotions swell: pride, fear, and an overwhelming sense of responsibility. Could she really carry this weight? Could she craft a future built on the hopes and stories of those around her? They began mapping out plans, tapping phones to capture ideas. The energy buzzed like a live wire, crackling with the excitement of possibility. Emma moved among them, sharing some of her own struggles and victories. It felt liberating. She wasn't just motivating them, they were rekindling her own passions as well. As the sun dipped low outside the windows, casting warm light onto the faces of her newfound community, Emma felt a shift within her. It was as if the barriers she'd built around herself were slowly crumbling. But just then, a thought pierced through her exhilaration: what would happen when the initial excitement faded? Was she prepared to nurture this community when the glow dimmed? The overwhelming questions loomed in her mind, pulling her back. Before she could linger on those thoughts, a young man shouted from across the room, "Let us not just talk. Let us plan a first event. We need a kickoff to celebrate our launch." Cheers erupted again, and a sense of urgency ignited in the air. Emma felt the thrill, but fear whispered on the edges of her excitement. What if they failed? What if no one showed up? But she also knew she couldn't let fear win. "Let us do it," she called out, her voice steady though her heart raced. "Let us set a date and get to work. We'll rise together." As discussions burst into action, Emma could only watch. A mixture of fear and exhilaration coiled tightly in her chest. Here she stood on the precipice of a new beginning. But with that heat, another question ignited: could she truly guide them well enough to keep their dreams alive? The excitement intensified, but the shadow of uncertainty laid heavy on Emma's shoulders. What would she do when the thrill faded and hard choices awaited, testing the very foundation of the movement they'd just begun? Days turned into weeks, and excitement coursed through Emma's community like a wildfire. They'd mapped out plans for their kickoff event, a grand gathering to celebrate their stories, showcase their ideas, and invite the world to join their movement. A flurry of activity consumed Emma and her team. They created flyers, arranged venues, and reached out to local businesses for support. Emma thrived in the chaos, the fire of collaboration knitting bonds among everyone. But as the day approached, a simmering dread filled her heart. What if no one showed up? What if her fragile creation crumbled in the face of reality? Lying awake at night, she could hear the doubts creeping in, echoing her past experiences of mockery and dismissal. "Are you still up?" Sarah's text lit up her phone one night. "Yeah, I'm worried," Emma replied, staring at the ceiling. "Don't be. You've got a community behind you now. This isn't like before. You're not alone." Sarah's words were like a lifeline, pulling Emma from the depths of her fears. The night before the event arrived, and Emma busily arranged the last details. Setting up tables, sorting supplies, and decorating with banners of encouragement. The venue glittered with promise, a perfect backdrop for their stories. But as Emma stood in front of the room, the lack of people sent a chill through her. She glanced at the empty seats, an ocean of vulnerability surfacing. What if she had misjudged everything? Plagued with anxiety, she quietly picked at a loose thread on her shirt, her heart racing. A tap on her shoulder broke her reverie. It was the elderly woman from before, her eyes sparkling. "You've done all this, dear. Remember that. People will come, they always do when an opportunity to connect presents itself." "Do you really think so?" Emma asked, her voice shaky. "Absolutely. Just have faith in your strength," the woman encouraged. That night, she found comfort in the woman's words, reminding her of the power of belief. But as the hour approached, doubt began to gnaw at her again. Then suddenly, the doors opened, and people started pouring in. Strangers, friends, supporters, all there to gather around a movement sparked by stories and meaning. Emma's heart raced with joy as she saw familiar faces. Sarah appearing with a broad smile, the young woman who had asked about action waving excitedly, her community had arrived. Once the event began, a buzz filled the air, every conversation sparking enthusiasm. Emma took center stage, her heart pounding with every step. Thank you all for being here. You are the heartbeat of this movement. Cheers erupted, echoing the energy in the room. But beneath the applause, the nagging questions bubbled up again. As Emma began sharing her vision, speaking from the heart about connection and transformation, she found her footing. This isn't just about each of us, it's about our journey together. Sharing pain, sharing joy, building a community built on support and understanding. Together, we can take every story and turn it into action. Each word surged forth like a roller coaster riding on hopes, fears, and determination. Hands raised, voices lifted, hearts opened. Small groups formed, discussions ignited, laughter spilled like light filling a dark room. Emma felt hope bloom within her, alongside realization. This was no longer just her journey. It belonged to everyone, and the hands lifting her up were stronger than she had ever anticipated. But just as her spirits soared, doubt gently returned. What will happen when the thrill of now fades? Emma's mind chased the shadows, the urgency to nurture her vision grew. She had to connect everyone beyond this one event, they needed a plan, a framework to scaffold their hopes. Just then, the young woman approached her, determination in her eyes. I have an idea. She exclaimed, excitement bubbling over. We can create a community online for everyone to stay connected, share resources, updates, maybe even workshops. Emma's heart raced. Yes. That's perfect. Let's turn this energy into something consistent, something tangible that keeps us together. As they gathered a team to shape their ideas, the focus began to shift toward creating a support network that could withstand the test of time. They envisioned sharing experiences and offering mentorship, their collective hearts fueling the movement forward. Weeks blurred into months, every meeting further strengthened their resolve as they crisscrossed their way through challenges, celebrating each small victory. Bonds solidified, comfort replaced unease, and Emma found her confidence blossoming in the shared growth. And then came the moment. Months after that initial kickoff, they all stood together on stage again, ready to unveil their initiative. Hearts raced and energy pulsed through the room as Emma looked out at the eager faces, the same ones that had once felt foreign to her. Together, we've created something powerful, she said, her voice steady. We're more than just victims or survivors, we're a community that uplifts each other. This isn't just about today, it's the start of our legacy. Applause erupted, and tears streamed down her face as cheers filled the air, each one affirming their collective journey. Emma realized in that moment it wasn't about her singular narrative anymore, but about their shared strength. But deep down, she held a flicker of uncertainty, the what-ifs, the lingering questions of how to maintain this beautiful blossoming. Would they continue to thrive? Would they find the fortitude to adapt together? Yet as the energy enveloped her, determination surged. They built this together, and no shadows from the past could overshadow the light of a community united. Emma had transformed, but even more importantly, she had led others in that transformation. This was the beginning, and Emma breathed deeply, allowing hope to wash over her. Each step from now on would be met with courage, and together, she would embrace every challenge that lay ahead. In the loving embrace of her community, she knew there was always more to create, more stories to share. With hearts connected, and hands clasped, they were not just a group, they were a movement, powerful and full of promise. And as the applause washed over her, Emma knew this was only the start. Let us keep breaking barriers, yes. Together. And to you a powerful call to action, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that can empower you to take charge of your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread this message further. Every little action matters. Comment your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending, your thoughts inspire us. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. You need to join us in uplifting voices that matter. Your support is invaluable.